The scanner's alarm pierced the quiet bridge of the research vessel, Aurora's edge like a knife through silk. Captain Elena Vasquez jerked awake from her coffee-induced doze, her weathered hands immediately reaching for the control panel. We got Chen? She called to her chief science officer, a brilliant young woman hunched over a bank of glowing displays. Dr. Sarah Chen's face had gone pale, her dark eyes reflecting the dancing readouts before her. Captain, you need to see this. The gravitational anomaly we've been tracking, it's not a black hole. Elena pushed herself from her captain's chair, her boots clicking against the metal deck plating as she crossed to Chen's station. Around them, the bridge hummed with the familiar sounds of deep space travel, the gentle whir of air recyclers, the distant pulse of the fusion drive, the soft beeping of automated systems. But something felt different now. The very air seemed charged with possibility and danger. "Show me," Elena commanded, leaning over Chen's shoulder. The main display flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional representation of local space. What they saw defied explanation. Buried beneath layers of cosmic dust and debris, hidden in the shadow of a dead star system, lay something impossible. "My God," whispered Navigator James Morrison from his post, his Irish accent thick with awe. "Is that what I think it is?" The object was massive beyond comprehension. Larger than Earth's moon, it possessed clean geometric lines that nature could never create. Angular surfaces caught and reflected the distant starlight, revealing the unmistakable marks of intelligent design. But it was dark, silent, dead. Chen's fingers danced across her controls, refining the sensor sweep. Initial scans suggest it's been here for... Captain, the decay patterns in the surrounding debris field indicate this thing has been buried for at least 50,000 years. 50,000? Elena felt her heart skip. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 3 centuries ago. Whatever built this had been traveling the stars when humans were still hunting with stone spears. "There's more," Chen continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not alone." The display zoomed out, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. Scattered throughout the system like sleeping giants were dozens of similar structures. Some were spherical, others resembled massive daggers pointed at the void. The largest stretched across space like a metallic continent, its surface broken by what could only be weapon ports the size of city blocks. "A fleet," Morrison breathed. "It's an entire fleet." Elena straightened, her mind racing through the implications. As captain of humanity's most advanced deep space research vessel, she'd seen her share of mysteries. Ancient ruins on dead worlds, fragments of lost civilizations, the occasional piece of advanced technology that kept Earth scientists busy for decades. But this was different. "Chen, I want a full spectrum analysis. Morrison, plot a course to the nearest vessel, but keep us at a safe distance. And someone wake up Rodriguez. Our communications officer needs to see this." As her crew sprang into action around her, Elena stared at the display. The ships hung in space like monuments to some long-dead empire, their surfaces scarred by eons of micrometeorite impacts and cosmic radiation, yet something about them seemed almost waiting. Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez stumbled onto the bridge 10 minutes later, her uniform hastily thrown on over sleep clothes. "Captain, Chen said it was urgent. What's the..." She stopped mid-sentence as she saw the display. "Holy Mother of God. Rodriguez, I need you to send a priority transmission to Earth Command. Full encryption. Tell them we've found something that changes everything." Rodriguez nodded, still staring at the impossible sight before them. "What should I tell them we found?" Elena looked at the ancient fleet one more time, a chill running down her spine. "Tell them we've found the Titans, and they're bigger than we ever imagined." As Rodriguez hurried to her station, Chen called out from her position. "Captain, I'm detecting something strange. The nearest vessel. There are faint energy readings coming from deep inside its structure." Elena felt ice form in her stomach. "Energy readings after 50,000 years? That's impossible," Morrison muttered. "Nothing could maintain power for that long." Chen's voice dropped to a whisper. Unless they were designed to. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of ship systems. Outside the viewports, the ancient fleet waited in the darkness, keeping secrets that could reshape humanity's understanding of the galaxy. But in the depths of space, something else was stirring. Far from the dead star system where humanity had stumbled upon the sleeping giants, a different kind of signal pulsed through the void, a signal that had been waiting 50 millennia for this exact moment. The discovery had been made. The sleepers were found, and somewhere in the galaxy's spiral arms, ancient eyes opened for the first time in eons. Chapter 2. Awakening Echoes. 3 days after the discovery, the Aurora's edge hung in space like a metal gnat beside a slumbering whale. Captain Vasquez stood in the ship's main laboratory, watching her crew work with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Sleep had become a luxury none of them could afford. Dr. Chen hunched over a holographic display showing the detailed scans of the nearest Titan ship. The vessel stretched nearly 800 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull composed of materials that seemed to shift between metal and crystal depending on the angle of observation. The power signature is getting stronger, Chen reported, pushing a strand of black hair from her face. Whatever's inside that thing, it's definitely waking up. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up from her communications array. Captain, I've been monitoring all frequencies. The energy emissions are creating some kind of pattern. It's almost like... Her words were cut off by a sudden, bone-deep vibration that ran through the ship. Every piece of equipment on the bridge flickered momentarily, and for a heartbeat the artificial gravity seemed to falter. What the hell was that? Elena demanded. Morrison's hands flew over his navigation controls. Ma'am, the Titan ship. Something just activated inside it. A massive power surge just propagated through its entire structure. Elena moved to the main viewport, staring at the ancient vessel. From this distance, it looked unchanged, a dark mountain floating in space. But as she watched, tiny points of light began to appear along its surface. At first, just a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Like a city coming to life after a long night. Chen, are you getting this? Every sensor we have is screaming, Chen replied, her voice tight with excitement and fear. Captain, the internal structure is reorganizing. Corridors are opening. Systems are coming online. It's like the ship is remembering how to be alive. Rodriguez suddenly straightened at her station. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. Elena spun around. From where? The Titan ship. It's broadcasting on multiple frequencies simultaneously. The signal is incredibly complex, layered with mathematical progressions and... Wait. Rodriguez's face went pale. There are linguistic patterns here. Someone's trying to communicate. Elena felt her pulse quicken. First contact protocols flashed through her mind. Procedures humanity had developed but never expected to use with something this ancient and powerful. Can you decode it? Rodriguez's fingers worked frantically over her controls. The ship's AI is working on it now. The base mathematical concepts are... Actually, they're surprisingly similar to our own. Whoever built this understood physics the same way we do, just more completely. The lights on the Titan ship continued to spread across its surface like a slow-motion aurora. Chen's sensors detected massive internal movements, structures the size of skyscrapers shifting position, mechanical systems larger than cities grinding to life after millennia of silence. Captain, Chen called out, her voice strained. I'm detecting similar activations throughout the fleet. They're all waking up. Elena looked at the tactical display. Across the dead star system, dozens of massive ships were beginning to show similar patterns of activation. Lights flickered to life on vessels that dwarfed humanity's largest space stations. The silent graveyard was becoming something else entirely. Rodriguez, any progress on that transmission? Some. The AI has identified recurring patterns that might be... Oh God. Rodriguez's hands froze over her controls. Captain, part of this transmission isn't meant for us. It's a signal being broadcast deeper into space. It's calling for something. Elena felt ice form in her veins. Calling for what? Before Rodriguez could answer, Morrison shouted from his station. Captain, massive hyperspace distortions detected at the edge of the system. Something big is coming through. The main display shifted to show the system's perimeter. Space itself seemed to twist and buckle as something enormous forced its way through the fabric of reality. The hyperspace wake was unlike anything in Earth's databases, older, more refined, and orders of magnitude more powerful than human FTL technology. What emerged from the dimensional rift made the Titan ships look small. The vessel was a living mountain of metal and energy, its surface crawling with patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. It moved with impossible grace for something so massive, gliding toward the Titan fleet like a predator returning to its territory. Jesus Christ, Morrison whispered. That thing must be 3,000 kilometers long. Elena grabbed the arm of her captain's chair, steadying herself against the implications of what she was seeing. Rodriguez, get me a direct line to Earth Command, emergency priority. I'm trying, Captain, but the hyperspace distortions are interfering with our communications. We're cut off. The massive newcomer approached the Titan fleet, and Elena watched in fascination as the ancient ships began to move. Slowly, ponderously, they shifted position around the new arrival like courtiers acknowledging their king. Chen's voice was barely audible. Captain, I'm reading energy signatures from that ship that shouldn't be possible. It's like they've learned to harness forces we don't even have names for. Can we run? Elena asked quietly. Morrison shook his head. Our FTL drive would take 40 minutes to charge. At the speeds these things can move, they'd catch us in seconds. Elena stared at the impossible sight before them. Humanity had stumbled into something far beyond their understanding. They were insects who had wandered into a gathering of giants, and the giants were waking up. Rodriguez suddenly gasped. Captain, the transmission. I've got part of it decoded. It's not just a signal, it's a report. Someone's been watching us. They know about Earth, about our colonies, about everything we've built. Elena felt the weight of her species' future settling on her shoulders. What kind of report? Rodriguez's voice shook as she read from her display. Assessment complete. Target species has achieved interstellar capability. Initiating contact protocols. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of Earth, of humanity's colonies scattered across the galaxy, of the billions of people who had no idea their fate might be decided in the next few minutes by beings older than their civilization. When she opened them again, her voice was steady. All hands, general quarters, and someone find me everything we know about first contact procedures. We're about to make history. But as the alien fleet arranged itself in what could only be a formation of power, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that history was about to be made on them instead. Chapter 3. The Weight of Eons, the Massive Alien Vessel. What Elena had begun thinking of as the Dreadnought settled into position at the center of the ancient fleet like a dark sun surrounded by metallic planets. The Titan ships adjusted their formations with mechanical precision, creating a sphere of vessels around the newcomer that stretched across millions of kilometers of space. Elena paced the bridge of the Aurora's edge, her ship now seeming impossibly small and fragile in the presence of such overwhelming power. It had been 6 hours since the Dreadnought's arrival, 6 hours of tense waiting while her crew worked frantically to understand what they were facing. Anything new from the transmission analysis? She asked Rodriguez for the dozenth time. The communications officer looked exhausted, her eyes red from staring at scrolling alien code. I've managed to decode maybe 30% of it. The language is old, Captain. Really old. Some of the mathematical concepts they're referencing don't even exist in our databases. Dr. Chen looked up from her science station where she'd been analyzing the energy patterns flowing between the alien ships. Captain, I think I'm beginning to understand what we're looking at here. These ships, they're not just vessels. They're archives. Elena stopped pacing. Archives? Look at the data flows. Chen gestured to her holographic display, which showed streams of light passing between the Titan ships like neural pathways in a vast brain. They're sharing information, massive amounts of it, terabytes per second. It's like they're remembering. Morrison whistled low from his navigation station. Remembering what exactly? Chen's voice dropped to a whisper. Everything. I think these ships have been sleeping here for 50,000 years waiting for something to wake them up. And when they activated, they started sharing data about everything they've seen and done. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Including information about us. Captain. Rodriguez interrupted, her voice tight with urgency. I'm getting a new transmission. This one's different, more focused, and it's coming directly from the dreadnought. I think they want to talk. Elena straightened her uniform and moved to the center of the bridge. Whatever was about to happen, she would face it as the representative of humanity. Put it through. The bridge's main speakers crackled. To life. And a voice emerged that seemed to carry the weight of millennia. It spoke in accented but clear English, each word chosen with careful precision. Small ones who travel between stars, we greet you across the vast darkness. Elena stepped forward, her heart hammering against her ribs. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth vessel Aurora's Edge. We greet you as well. There was a pause that seemed to stretch for hours. When the voice spoke again, there was something almost like amusement in its tone. Earth. Yes, we know this word. Your species has grown much since we last walked among the young races. Tell us, Captain Elena Vasquez of Earth, do your people still make war upon themselves? The question caught Elena off guard. Yes. Sometimes. But we're working toward peace. Good. War teaches valuable lessons, but only to those who survive. Yet we have watched your species for some time, Captain. Through the eyes of automated observers, through signals intercepted across the void. You show promise. Elena glanced at her crew, seeing her own mixture of awe and terror reflected in their faces. Who are you? What are you? Another pause. When, the voice returned. It carried a note of something that might have been sadness. We are the keepers of the Long Watch. Once we were not so different from you, young, curious, reaching for the stars with primitive vessels and bold hearts. That was very long ago. We have learned much since then. Chen stepped forward. How long ago? Our scans suggest your ships have been here for 50,000 years. 50,000? Yes, that would be approximately correct for this particular fleet. Though we have been traveling the galaxy far longer than that. Your species was still learning to make fire when we first sailed between the stars. Elena felt the enormity of what she was facing settling over her like a heavy blanket. These beings had been ancient when humanity was still in caves. What do you want from us? Want? An interesting question. We want nothing, Captain Elena Vasquez. But we offer something. A choice. Elena's throat felt dry. What kind of choice? Your species stands at a crossroads. We have seen it many times before, with many different races. You have achieved interstellar travel, begun to spread across the galaxy, but you remain fragmented, divided, prone to the same conflicts that have always plagued young civilizations. Morrison stepped closer to Elena. What happened to the other races? The ones who faced this choice before? The silence stretched long enough that Elena began to wonder if the alien had heard the question. When the voice finally returned, it was heavy with loss. Some chose wisdom. They learned to set aside their differences, to work together for the common good of their species. These races we welcomed as equals, as partners in the great work of preserving knowledge and protecting the young. And the others? Elena asked, though she dreaded the answer. The others chose to remain as they were, divided, warlike, selfish. These races... Well, the galaxy is a dangerous place, Captain. Not all who reach for the stars are prepared for what they might find there. Elena felt her crew's eyes on her, felt the weight of speaking for all humanity. What exactly are you offering us? Knowledge, technology, guidance, the accumulated wisdom of 1,000,000 years of exploration and discovery. We offer to teach you what we have learned, to help you avoid the mistakes we made, the tragedies we witnessed. It sounded too good to be true. Elena's instincts, honed by years of command, sensed the catch. And in return? In return, you must prove yourselves worthy. You must demonstrate that your species can grow beyond its current limitations, that you can be trusted with the true power that waits among the stars. Chen stepped forward again. What kind of proof? That remains to be seen. But know this, Captain Elena Vasquez of Earth. This conversation has already been shared with the greater fleet. Word of your species has been sent to the far reaches of the galaxy, to those who also keep watch. You cannot return to the shadows now. Elena felt ice form in her stomach. Are you threatening us? We threaten no one. But your species has been noticed, by us and by others. Some of those others are not as patient or as kind as we are. The galaxy is ancient, Captain, and not all its inhabitants wish young races well. Elena looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew, good people who had signed up for exploration and discovery, not for deciding the fate of humanity. But the choice was here, thrust upon them by circumstance and cosmic timing. How long do we have to decide? Time is a luxury we cannot afford to waste. Even now, other forces move in the darkness. You have 72 of your hours to contact your leaders, to make your choice. After that, the voice trailed off ominously. After that what? After that, Captain Elena Vasquez, the decision will be made for you. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Elena stared at the view screen, where the massive alien fleet waited in formation like sleeping gods. Rodriguez spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. Captain, what do we tell Earth? Elena closed her eyes, thinking of home, of the billions of people going about their daily lives with no idea that everything was about to change. We tell them the truth, Rodriguez. We tell them humanity just graduated to a much more dangerous classroom. But as she prepared to compose the most important message in human history, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere in the darkness beyond the Titan fleet, other eyes were watching. Other intelligences were making their own plans for humanity's future. The clock was ticking and the test had already begun. Chapter 4. The Test of Echoes. 70 hours had passed since the alien ultimatum. Elena stood in the cramped communications bay of the Aurora's edge, watching Rodriguez frantically adjust transmission parameters for what felt like the 100th time. The response from Earth had come 18 hours ago, after desperate attempts to punch a signal through the alien interference. The message had been brief and terrifying in its simplicity. Captain Vasquez has full authority to act for humanity. Do whatever is necessary to protect our species. Earth Command. Elena felt the weight of 7 billion souls pressing down on her shoulders. Captain, Chen called from the science station, her voice strained with exhaustion. The energy patterns are changing again. I think they're getting impatient. Through the viewports, the alien fleet maintained its perfect formation. But Elena had learned to read the subtle signs, the way the lights pulsed across their hulls, the micro-adjustments in their positions. These ancient beings were preparing for something. Morrison looked up from his navigation console. Captain, I hate to add to our problems, but we've got company. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. At the edge of the system, Elena felt her heart skip. Human ships? No, ma'am. The hyperspace signatures are different. Older, but not as old as our hosts here. The main display shifted to show the newcomers. 3 vessels approached at high speed, their designs unlike anything in Earth's databases. They moved with predatory grace, their hulls studded with what could only be weapon systems. Rodriguez suddenly straightened at her station. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the Titan fleet. It's the same voice as before. Put it through. The familiar, ancient voice filled the bridge, but now there was urgency in its tone. Captain Elena Vasquez, events move faster than we anticipated. The ships approaching your position belong to the Devourers, a race that has chosen a different path than ours. Elena stepped forward. What do they want? They want your species to fail this test, Captain. The Devourers believe that young races should be harvested before they can become threats to the established order. They have been observing your species for some time, waiting for this moment. Chen's hands flew over her controls. Captain, those ships are powering weapons. Energy signatures are off the charts. The alien voice continued with what sounded like regret. The test we spoke of was not meant to come so soon, but the presence of the Devourers changes everything. Your species must choose now. Accept our guidance and protection or face the consequences of remaining alone in a hostile galaxy. Elena looked at her crew, seeing her own fears reflected in their faces. What exactly are you asking us to do? One of your people must come aboard our vessel. They will undergo the joining, a process that will link them to our collective knowledge and allow us to understand your species' true nature. If your representative proves worthy, we will protect your worlds and teach you the ways of the greater galaxy. And if they don't prove worthy? The pause was long and heavy. Then your species will face its enemies alone. Elena felt the walls closing in. Through the viewports, she could see the Devourer ships drawing closer, their weapons systems glowing with malevolent energy. The Titan fleet remained motionless, waiting for humanity's decision. Captain, Morrison said quietly, those Devourer ships will be in weapons range in 15 minutes. Elena closed her eyes, running through options she didn't have. Earth was too far away to help. The Aurora's Edge was a research vessel, not a warship. Against the approaching vessels, they wouldn't last 30 seconds. I'll go, she said suddenly. Captain, no, Chen protested. We don't know what this joining process involves. It could kill you. Elena looked at her science officer with a sad smile. Chen, look around. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of options if there's even a chance this works. Rodriguez spoke up from her station. Captain, the alien ship is extending some kind of docking tube toward us. They're expecting an answer. Elena straightened her uniform and activated the ship's internal communications. All hands, this is Captain Vasquez. I'm transferring command to Lieutenant Commander Chen. Follow her orders as you would mine. Chen shook her head. Elena, please, there has to be another way. Maybe there is, Elena replied, but we don't have time to find it. If this goes wrong, Chen, I want you to make for the outer system. Try to get a message to Earth. Tell them what happened here. Elena moved toward the airlock, but Rodriguez called out behind her. Captain, wait. The transmission from the Keepers. There's another part I just decoded. They're not the only ones watching this test. Elena paused. What do you mean? Rodriguez's voice was filled with awe and terror. There are others, Captain. Ancient races, scattered throughout the galaxy. They're all connected somehow, all part of some kind of network. And they're all waiting to see what humanity chooses. Elena felt the enormity of the moment settling over her. This wasn't just about Earth or the colonies. This was about humanity's place in a galaxy far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. Then I guess we'd better not disappoint them, she said, and stepped through the airlock. The docking tube was unlike anything Elena had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living metal that pulsed with soft organic light. As she walked, she felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the very air was alive with energy. At the far end, an opening dilated like an iris, revealing the interior of the alien vessel. Elena stepped through and gasped. She stood in a vast chamber that defied the laws of physics she understood. The space seemed to extend infinitely in all directions, filled with floating islands of crystal and metal connected by bridges of pure light. And everywhere she looked, she saw figures, tall, graceful beings that seemed to be made of starlight and shadow. One of them approached her, and Elena found herself looking into eyes that held the wisdom of eons. Welcome, Captain Elena. Vasquez of Earth, the being said, its voice echoing in her mind rather than her ears. Are you ready to see what your species might become? Elena took a deep breath, thinking of her crew, of Earth, of all the human colonies scattered across the galaxy. I'm ready. The being reached out with a hand that seemed to be carved from living crystal. Then let us begin the joining and discover if humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. As Elena reached out to accept the alien's touch, she felt a moment of perfect clarity. Whatever happened next would change everything. For her species, for the galaxy itself. Behind them, through the walls of the Titan ship, she could sense the Devourer vessels closing in, their weapons charging for an attack that would come too late. The moment of choice had arrived. Elena grasped the alien's hand and the universe exploded into light. On Mabag Epilogue, the new Dawn 6 months after the events at the Dead Star system, Elena stood on the observation deck of the New Horizon, humanity's first joint construction with their Keeper allies. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, she watched as Earth's newest generation of starships took their first steps into the wider galaxy. The joining had changed her in ways she was still discovering. Knowledge flowed through her mind like a river. Star charts to civilizations she'd never dreamed of. Technologies that seemed like magic, and most importantly, an understanding of humanity's role in the cosmic community they had just joined. Doctor, Chen approached from behind, her footsteps soft on the polished deck. The Council of Keepers has approved the next phase of integration. 50 more human worlds will receive Keeper advisors within the year. Elena nodded, still gazing out at the stars. And the Devourers? Contained for now. The other races have made it clear that humanity is under protection while we complete our transition. But Elena, Chen's voice carried a note of concern. The reports from the outer colonies are troubling. Not everyone is happy about the changes. Elena sighed. She had expected this. Humanity was being asked to grow up quickly, to set aside old prejudices and conflicts in favor of something larger than themselves. Not everyone was ready for that kind of transformation. The resistance movements? Growing stronger. Some of the colony worlds are calling for complete independence from Earth and the Keeper Alliance. They're calling us collaborators. Elena finally turned from the viewport, her eyes reflecting the strange golden light that had been there since the joining. They're afraid, Chen. I understand that. 6 months ago, we thought we were alone in the galaxy. Now we're junior partners in a civilization that spans half the known universe. But you still think we made the right choice? Elena was quiet for a long moment, feeling the weight of the knowledge that flowed through her enhanced consciousness. She could see the threads that connected all intelligent life in the galaxy, the delicate balance that the Keepers and their allies worked to maintain. Ask me in 100 years, she said finally. But Chen, I've seen what happens to species that choose to remain isolated. The galaxy is full of ruins, of entire civilizations that thought they could face the darkness alone. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. Rodriguez's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Captain Vasquez, to the bridge, please. We're receiving a priority message from the deep space monitoring stations. Elena and Chen made their way to the bridge of humanity's most advanced vessel. The New Horizon was a fusion of human engineering and Keeper technology, capable of speeds and maneuvers that would have seemed impossible just months ago. Rodriguez looked up as they entered, her expression mixing excitement with concern. Captain, we're getting reports from the outer rim. Our deep space sensors have detected something significant. Elena settled into the captain's chair, feeling the ship's enhanced systems respond to her neural implants. Show me. The main display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of local space. Far beyond the boundaries of known human territory, something was moving through the void. Multiple somethings. Fleet movements, Elena realized. How many ships? Thousands, Captain. Maybe tens of thousands. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases, even the enhanced ones from the Keepers. Elena felt a chill run through her enhanced nervous system. Through her connection to the Keeper network, she could sense surprise and concern from her alien allies. Unknown vessels, she murmured. Even the Keepers don't recognize them. Chen leaned forward in her chair. Captain, if these are hostiles, then humanity's real test is just beginning, Elena finished. She opened a communication channel to the Keeper command ship that maintained a constant presence in Earth's solar system. This is Captain Vasquez to Keeper Prime. We need to talk. The response came immediately. the familiar mental voice of her keeper liaison carrying notes of ancient worry. We see it too, Elena of Earth. Ships from beyond the galactic rim, moving with purpose toward inhabited space. We had hoped for more time to prepare your species. Elena stood up, feeling the weight of command and the responsibility for billions of lives settling on her shoulders once again. How long do we have? Addie, their current rate of approach, perhaps 2 years. Maybe less if they have technology superior to our own. Elena looked around the bridge at her human crew, enhanced now with keeper implants and knowledge, but still recognizably human in their determination and courage. Then we'd better make those 2 years count, she said. Rodriguez, send a message to Earth Command and all human colonies. Tell them the training period is over. It's time to see what humanity can really do when we set our minds to it. As the New Horizon changed course toward the outer rim, Elena felt a surge of something that might have been anticipation. The galaxy had tested humanity once and found them worthy of survival. Now it was time to see if they were worthy of something more. Behind them, Earth continued its transformation as human civilization began to reach toward its true potential. Ahead lay the unknown, approaching through the void with intentions that could reshape the galaxy. But for the first time since standing on the bridge of the Aurora's edge and discovering the sleeping titans, Elena felt ready for whatever came. Next, humanity had awakened ancient guardians and been judged worthy of their protection and guidance. Now it was time to see if they could become guardians themselves. The stars waited, full of promise and danger in equal measure. And humanity, no longer alone in the darkness, prepared to meet their destiny among the infinite reaches of space. In the depths of the galaxy, new signals pulsed through the void, messages of preparation, of alliance, of species long separated, by the vast distances between stars now working together toward a common goal. The age of isolation was ending. The age of unity had begun. End of story.